Hi, I'm Agent Ford. Do you think you can help me solve another true crime mystery? Today's case is controversial, at least because it has been reopened years after, creating quite a stir again. It all began on August 2nd, 2015, when an emergency operator received a 911 call in the middle of the night from a family house in suburban Davidson County, North Carolina. "He's bleeding all over. I think I may have killed him," retired FBI agent Thomas Martens said. But let's take a step back. Jason Corbett was a 39-year-old man from Limerick, Ireland, who lived in Davidson County with his second wife, Molly Martens Corbett, and his two children from the previous marriage, Jack and Sarah. Things weren't going well between Jason and Molly, but no one could have ever imagined what was going to happen. Just the day before, Molly's parents, Thomas and Sharon, had come to town to visit the family. They were settling in the guest room downstairs when, according to Thomas's call to 911, they heard noises coming from the master bedroom. Thomas ran upstairs, bringing a baseball bat with him, a gift he and his wife were planning on giving to their grandson, Jack. The scene he found himself upon was terrifying for a father to see. As he stated, Jason and Molly were fighting. Jason had his hands around Molly's neck, and he had to intervene. "It was Donnybrook, an uncontrolled fight," claimed Thomas, describing the altercation. "I did the only thing I could." And so he hit Jason on his head with the bat, leaving him on the ground in a pool of blood. Then he called 911 and asked for help. The call lasted 14 minutes, in which the operator attempted to guide Thomas and Molly on how to resuscitate Jason. But it was all in vain. When authorities arrived at the Corbett's house, Jason Corbett was dead. They listened to Thomas's version of the story, the same he had described to 911, but they had their doubts. According to his autopsy report, Jason Corbett's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. He also suffered multiple lacerations, abrasions, and contusions of the head, extensive skull fractures, hemorrhages, and other blunt force injuries like scattered abrasions and bruises on his torso and extremities. Neither Molly nor Thomas, on the other hand, suffered any injuries during the alleged struggle. A detective B.M. Smith said, "The fight Thomas Martens described was not consistent with the evidence at the scene." In his application to the court, Detective B.M. Smith also questioned Thomas and Sharon suddenly changing their plans to visit the Corbetts the day before Jason's death and the baseball bat Thomas claimed he had bought for his grandson. Aside from the fact that he had chosen to bring a bat with him when he went upstairs to check some noises, something else seemed odd. He had already given his grandson a baseball bat in the summer. Why would he give the child the same gift twice? To some, it looked like he had that bat for a particular and horrifying reason. It was meant to be the murder weapon. Investigators filed search warrant applications to get access to the couple's bank statements, email, and phone records, as well as the phone records and social media accounts of Molly's parents. The search revealed that Jason was planning to move back to Ireland with his children and without Molly, which obviously caused many problems between the spouses since Jason refused to sign the adoption papers and give Molly equal rights to the kids. The relationship between Jason and Thomas was worsening too, as Thomas encouraged his daughter to consult a lawyer. In preparation for the trip to Ireland, Jason and Molly also discussed transferring some of his financial assets to a local bank, another plausible motive, especially because after Jason's death, Molly took large sums of money from the bank account they shared jointly. In the days that followed Jason's death, the children were interviewed by social service officials, with detectives observing from behind the two-way mirrored glass. To the police's surprise, both Sarah and Jack reported that Jason and Molly fought very often. It was their dad in particular who attacked Molly for ridiculous reasons and physically and verbally abused her. All this resulted in Molly and Thomas Martens being charged with second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter on January the 4th, 2016. They pleaded not guilty, claiming they acted only in self-defense. But theirs wasn't the only trial Jason's death had led to. There was something much more painful and challenging to decide. Running in parallel with the investigation, a bitter battle for custody of Jack and Sarah Corbett had begun. The poor kids had already lost their mother, who had died in 2006 because of an asthma attack, and were now orphans at only 11 and 9 years old. On paper, their adoption case should have been easy since Jason's will named his sister, Tracy Lynch, and her husband, David, as his children's guardians. But Molly Martens Corbett had a different idea.
Jason took that decision before we met, and he never updated his will,
Molly claimed.
But I'm Jack and Sarah's mother. I've lived with them for years. I've seen them growing. I've helped them with their homework. I've brushed their hair and held their hands.
But in court, Tracy described Molly as unsuitable and desperate for the children's affection, which she had never actually gained. She'd insist on the kids calling her mom, and as Tracy said when Jack resisted, Molly would punish him for it. After wranglings from both sides, the clerk of the Superior Court awarded the custody of Jack and Sarah Corbett to Tracy and David Lynch, who lived in Limerick, just where Jason was planning on taking his children. Molly didn't take the news well, and the custody battle went public on social media, even though a judge had already taken a decision and closed the case.
The crux of this, to be brutally honest, is that deliberate, obstructive, cruel way that the Martens family are carrying out this prolonged pain on my family is unforgivable,
one of Jason's brothers said in an interview.
If she genuinely loved these children and were remorseful for the brutal death of my brother, it wouldn't have gone this far.
Sadly, what has followed since then is another tug of war over the children, this time played out in public, only days after the custody ruling.
Anyone who has children can understand the pain I'm in,
Molly claimed.
Our lives do not matter in the eyes of the law,
she wrote on her social media.
A will made when Jack and Sarah were infants and before I came into their lives is what matters.
Still, Molly Martens Corbett lost her fight when she and her father, Thomas Martens, were convicted of second-degree murder by unanimous jury verdict on August 9, 2016. At that point, Jack and Sarah Corbett were finally free to leave North Carolina, move to their aunts, and grieve their father in peace, and move on with their lives. Molly and Thomas Martens had been sentenced to 20 to 25 years in prison, and the media had lastly forgotten about Jason Corbett's homicide. At least, that was until April 2021. Jason Corbett's killers, Molly and Thomas Martens, were again under the spotlight on April 7, 2021, after a judge released them on bail pending a retrial for the homicide case, creating quite a stir. The reason? The original trial had omitted admissible testimony. The Corbett family were left confused and disappointed by the decision of the North Carolina Supreme Court, and Sarah Corbett, now a teenager, took on Twitter attacking Molly Martens Corbett.
You took my dad's life, and you destroyed mine. You taught me to lie and told the world it was the truth. How can people in power not see this? I was only 8, and now you get to break down my whole life again, she wrote. The Corbetts launched a petition to secure a retrial for the convicted killer, gaining about 8,000 signatures. Jack and Sarah have been given a chance to give evidence in a retrial, Jason's sister and Jack and Sarah's legal guardian Tracy told the media. They look forward to telling a jury the truth about the abuses they suffered at the hands of Molly,
But while a retrial is not expected to take place before next year, we all hope the media will leave both parties their space and respect their silence and pain. No one knows what happened that fateful night Jason Corbett was killed, just as no one knows what happened in the Corbett's house when the doors were closed. The only sure victims in this story are Jack and Sarah Corbett, and after all they had to go through, their pain deserves to be respected. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments below. As always, I look forward to reading your interesting theories. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your fellow investigators. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a case. With that being said, stay safe, and I'll see you guys at the next crime scene.